members, I'm happy to be back in the European Parliament, honored and humbled by the magnitude of the responsibilities I will face if I get your support. I fully recognize the vital contribution of the European Parliament in shaping European foreign policy and the added value of the parliamentarian diplomacy as you did in Ukraine. One of my main responsibilities will be to inform, consult and ensure your views are taken into account. I strongly believe that a strong European Union foreign policy requires a strong democratic support. In my opening statement, I will approach in a conceptual basis rather than a geographic approach for reason of time. But let me stress from the beginning my intention to engage in the reforms and integration processes in the Western Balkans to support democracy and territorial integrity of Ukraine, address the challenges in our southern neighborhood, and many of them, develop a new comprehensive strategy towards Africa, working out a politically rounded strategy in and with Asia, stepping our cooperation with Latin America, and resetting transatlantic relations as I discussed in New York recently with Secretary of State Pompeo the last time we met, resetting transatlantic relations. I'm happy to discuss about all of this and also about how we can work together for democracy and human rights in these very challenging times. Let me first set out my overall vision. Dear members, Mr. Chair, we will soon be celebrating the 30th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. It was the triumph of freedom, enabling the reunification of Germany and Europe in peace and democracy. But it also brought key strategic challenges. Most of them were addressed with European policies, the enlargement, the euro, and the starting of a common foreign policy. And that was also the spirit during my time at that House. But since then, the world has changed dramatically and for worse, for much worse. Now we have trade wars, climate change, refugee crisis, instability in our neighborhood, hybrid threats. The rule-based international order is being challenged by the logic of power politics, which is much more unfair, unpredictable, and conflict-prone. What does it mean, power politics? Power politics means that the international law is undermined. There are fewer agreements and more vetoes. And the territorial integrity of sovereign states is being violated, as the war in Ukraine demonstrates. The non-proliferation and disarmament system is threatened, and embargoes are broken in Libya and elsewhere. But power politics means that trade, technology and finance are used as tools of international competition. They become political weapons. There is uncertainty about the international role of the United States. There are new threats coming from the East, and China is as much a systemic rival as an economic opportunity and a partner on global issues. We have around us a fragile neighborhood and the demographic dynamism of Africa, and in Latin America, our ally on multilateralism, some countries are facing threats to democracy and security. Dear members, this is not the world the European Union wanted, but I am convinced that we have what it takes to face this challenging environment, because we are, and we must be proud of it, the best combination of political freedom, economic prosperity, and social cohesion in the world. We have the resources, we have the support of our population and strong institutions, and we need to build on this. This is how I read the political guidelines of the President-elect Ursula von der Leyen who has defined this Commission as a geopolitical commission and asked me to work for a stronger Europe in the world. A stronger Europe in the world. Dear members, how do we do? We should pull our national sovereignties together to multiply the power of individual member states. And I am convinced that if we don't act together, Europe will become irrelevant in the new coming world. To pull national sovereignties is a political decision easier to proclaim than achieve. My old friend Jacques Delors said, we must reconcile Sunday speeches with Monday actions. But for that, we need a truly integrated foreign policy that combines the power of member states acting together in the Council with all policy managed by the Commission and the democratic legitimacy of this House. This was the promise of the Lisbon Treaty. If I am confirmed, the heart of my work as Vice President and High Representative will be to bridge the foreign policy of the Member States with the external action of the Commission. I know it's not an easy task, but I will do my best. Geopolitics, one could say, begins at home. Why? First, because to be geopolitically relevant, we need unity, much more than the one we have. I will work with all member states, big and small, to achieve this unity. Second, because we need coherence between internal and external policies. And we have the instruments to play power politics. Our challenge is to put them together at the service of one strategy. We are key normative power in setting worldwide rules and standards. We have a powerful common trade policy. Powerful because it's common. We are a true leader in shaping the 2030 agenda, which represents the new global consensus on building sustainability. Our budget, together with those of the member states, makes us a financial superpower, and our diplomatic capacity is among the strongest in the world. We should reinforce the Euro international role and further our military capacity to act. To sum up, in a single sentence, the European Union has to learn to use the language of power. We often say, partnerships and multilateralism are in our collective DNA. Yes, but you cannot be multilateralist alone. So we need partners. But many of our partners are disengaging from the rules-based system, and others are applying rules in a selective and self-serving way. Europe has to position itself among the growing confrontation between US and China. Confrontation or a strategic competition, whatever you want. We have to back rules-based multilateralism and promote our own approach, avoiding being squeezed between the two of them. We are, and we will remain, allies of the US, strong allies. But we have legitimate concerns about unilateral moves that go against decades of cooperation. The rules-based system can and should be reformed, but not abandoned. We also have to welcome the positive Chinese moves on climate change and on the Iran nuclear deal. But we expect China to work with the rules of the system. Reciprocity and level playing field must be the basic principles of our relationship, for instance, on trade, investment and connectivity. Mr. Chairman, dear members, European citizens say that the two biggest challenges they face are climate change and migration. Both are geopolitical challenges because we cannot solve them alone. Even If we become carbon neutral, the European Green Deal will have to help others to move in the same direction, or we will not solve the problem. Climate change poses the biggest problem of redistribution after the Industrial Revolution, inside the EU and beyond, among countries and among citizens. It's a driver of instability and migratory pressures that we will have to face both at home and abroad. That's why there are geopolitical issues. Migration and asylum have profound geopolitical implications also. The humanitarian tragedy of Syria created the 2015 spike in asylum seekers. But migration is a structural issue. It requires border control, for sure, but mainly requires a true partnership with origin and transit countries, mainly from Africa. I'm coming from Spain, I have certain experience on that. We think that in a no so distant future, Africa will have over 1 billion people more. Not 1 billion people, 1 billion people more. Don't look at that only through the eyes of migration. It's also an opportunity if we are able to set up a comprehensive strategy that integrates trade, investment, security, education, mainly education, women's empowerment. It will not be a solution without women empowerment in Africa. Mobility, altogether. We need to think big and creative, developing a common strategic vision. We have the tools to do so. And we cannot renounce what we are every time a migration crisis comes, be it big or small. Dear members, let's talk now about security and defense. Our strength lies in our ability to link diplomacy, mediation, crisis management, and internal and external aspects of security. This is the way we promote peace. We have hybrid threats, including disinformation campaigns and cyber attacks that jeopardize our democracies. I am conscious of the gravity of these threats, and I will advance on going on. Defense is a part of our security, and sometimes threats start far away from our borders. We have recently put in place instruments to develop more usable defense capabilities. We have to go further. Member States are deploying 35,000 women and men worldwide in different types of international missions. That's impressive, but we have to do more. Our military spending is roughly half the GDP of Belgium, more than China, much more than Russia, second only to the United States. We spend 40%, but our capacity is much lesser because our fragmentation and duplication. We have to spend together. We have to spend better. And the best thing was spending better is spending together. We have to be more operational in the ground. We have to deploy forces starting in our neighborhood. Rethink about the Helsinki headlines goals. Remember, 1999, after the Yugoslavian war? We are going to be able to deploy 50 or 60,000 troops on the ground. Where is this commitment? Let's be clear. NATO is and will remain the cornerstone of our collective alliance, of our collective defense. But developing European defense, we will reinforce the Atlantic Alliance. And by carrying more weight in NATO, we will contribute to a more balanced transatlantic relationship. Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le Député, Madame et Monsieur les députés, plutôt que d'être le troisième pilier d'un J3 de rivalité stratégique, nous devions viser une Europe capable de se défendre elle-même tout en œuvrant pour un ordre mondial multilatéral et pacifique dans le respect des droits de l'homme, poursuivant les objectifs du développement durable. Chers députés, c'était là mon sermon dominical, de l'heure pourrait dire. Ou plutôt, je voudrais bien que ce soit mon discours du lundi, car je tiens sincèrement à passer de la parole à l'action si vous me donnez votre confiance. Merci.